Hi everyone, I'm Dale Smith, aka Journo Dale, and we're here to talk about Canadian politics. This week we are taking your questions, and both of them are from Twitter. Our first is from Mary, who asks, as evidence mounts that masks reduce COVID-19 spread, is there anything in the division of powers that stops the federal government from mandating masks for Canada? This is one of those kinds of jurisdictional areas. Public health is primarily a provincial jurisdiction. There is some level of coordination federally for public health, which is why we created the Public Health Agency post-SARS. But they don't have a lot of power in terms of mandating things that can happen across the country. They're largely a coordinating body, and they can issue recommendations, but they can't really make orders for the country. And especially they don't have kind of the powers that the Quarantine Act or anything like that has either. So there's not really anything the federal government can do about mandating mask wearing. The Federal Public Health Agency has pretty much done as much as they can in terms of encouraging people to wear them as much as possible when they are in situations where you can't physically distance, which is really the key to stopping the spread of transmission. It's more the distance than the masks. The masks help prevent someone from passing it on, but it's not foolproof, and it's certainly not going to prevent someone from contracting it if they're wearing a mask, unless it's an N95 respirator, which is different, but those are largely for medical personnel. So suffice to say, yeah, this is something that you basically need to get your provincial health officers to step up their recommendations on. This is something that the federal government can't really do much about. Our second question is from Steve, who asks, how many people have used the word racist in the House of Commons and never been expelled? How many have been expelled for using the word? This is a slightly more fraught question than is being led on, because what happened this last week when NDP leader Jagmeet Singh was expelled for using the term and not apologizing was the fact that it became an issue that the Bloc complained about. There had been instances in the past in the House of Commons where people had used the term, called to one another, but nobody was punished for it because nobody made a deal out of it. And that's the difference what happened here. In this case, the Bloc, after Mr. Singh accused one of the Bloc MPs of being racist, the Bloc whip raised as a point of order, which had the chair go and, because it was committee of the whole the time, she got the speaker back into the chamber and had him make a determination. And it was also because Mr. Singh didn't apologize for it. And therefore it became under the rubric of unparliamentary conduct. And he was then named and ejected for the remainder of the day, and then the matter's closed. He was able to come back the next day, and everything carried on. The Bloc did try to make an issue of it that he didn't apologize, but he'd already faced the consequences for it, so there was no real point in an apology there. One of the previous instances where someone had called someone a racist in the House of Commons nearly started a fist fight, actually. And you don't see that in the Hansard portrayal, as someone was putting them up on Twitter this week to make some kind of a point, but wasn't necessarily the point he thought he was making. So there was actually someone else who circulated video clips of that near fist fight, where someone actually went over and crossed the other side of the floor and was, hurling epithets at the guy who called him a racist and so on. And that was, again, not captured and answered in that same way. So for people to make the point that this was somehow out of the ordinary, and Mr. Singh was being punished for it, possibly because of racism on the part of the speaker, is not really the case. It's the fact that the bloc made a point of unparliamentary conduct, not the word itself, and that's what we need to keep in mind here. Parliamentary conduct rules exist for a reason, because this is basically what keeps it from devolving into those kinds of situations where people start fistfights, as we see in videos from other parliaments around the world. You know, and this is also why the tradition in Canada is to address all comments through the Speaker or the Chair, which kind of keeps the one-on-one, you said this, second person accusatory. It mellows it a little bit and tries to take some of the heat out of personalizing things that happen in the House, which therefore, you know, lowers the tone a little bit, ensures that there can be more actual discussion and exchanges of ideas and even argument and debate without necessarily making it personal. So that's just kind of what we have to keep in mind here. Mr. Singh was perfectly within his right to call the Bloc MP that and not apologize, and he did, you know, for creating a disturbance essentially, face the consequences, and now it's done. There's nothing wrong with that, and I don't think that trying to make a deal out of the term, that just because he used it and suffered censure for it is not indicative that it's unique to Mr. Singh. It was situational. Everything is situational. It was context-based, and that's kind of how Parliament works. And that is everything for this week. Join us again next week for some more Canadian politics. I'm Dale Smith. That's at journo_Dale on Twitter. And don't forget to like the video, share, subscribe, and support us on Patreon. Thanks, everyone.